We're off to a good start. Let's keep going. Let's keep going.
3 hours later.
Impostor Syndrome, a psychological condition that is characterized by persistent doubt concerning one's abilities or accomplishments, accompanied by the fear of being exposed as a fraud despite evidence of one's ongoing success. Now, I'm not going to lie, I had a hard time at DLC Milwaukee, but I also had a pretty dang amazing time. My main event was a roller coaster of emotions, and that made me question, what am I even doing here? But some slick plays and some awesome group of people helped me really make this trip everything I wanted it to be, and I want to share that with you now. So let's put some stories into the bag. So, first of all, if you're here looking to jump straight into my main event progress, just go ahead and skip to the time code listed here. And while you're skipping there, you can think about using some dual spec sleeves with my coupon code SNAPQuester for 10% off your next order. Use the link in the description below or use the code right here. Anyway, DLC Milwaukee. So first things first was getting there. Now, I have not flown in years, mostly because it's just kind of a pain to fly with kids, especially if you need car seats. But despite all the mess of things in general right now and the process of flying, it was surprisingly smooth and was even smooth enough to be able to get some playtesting in while we were waiting for our flight. We made it from San Diego all the way to Milwaukee a few hours later and headed to the Baird Center to get our badges. That's where I ran into Liam from Illumineers and the Lorcana villain, Baker. I've met Liam at least once before, but this is the first time seeing Baker. Both are awesome guys, and the thing that I love most about them is the love and passion they have for what they do. The game of Lorcana is better with people like them in it, bringing their enthusiasm and dedication to the game. As a fellow content creator, although a smaller one, who knows YouTube analytics, I know they aren't doing it for the money. They do it because they love what they do, and it shows. I was able to see and chat with several others, which was great, and a surprising number of people recognized me, though usually just from my voice, but we'll get more on that later. We flew in on Friday because we knew there would be no Friday events, which initially felt a little bit weird, but a good chunk of our San Diego players have gone to every single DLC in North America so far. Even I thought about how difficult it would be to win tickets with no other side events on Friday if I only had Sunday and maybe a little bit of Saturday to get there. After that, we were told by our Wisconsin native that we had to go to Culver's frozen custard and butter burgers, which sounded amazing, so we went. And good Lord, all I gotta say is that is not the only time that we stopped there. As the food settled in my stomach, it was time to finally finalize my deck and submit it. I wanted to lock it in the night before so I wasn't stressing in the morning, and I had made sure to pack multiple decks and a giant stack of maybe cards for both core and infinity. But after some consideration, I settled on my safe, boring blurple list. There's nothing terribly spicy, just good old, mostly stock blurple. I was comfortable with it, I was confident with it, and due to how I usually play my decks for camera, specifically kind of changing decks week to week for variety, I was at a rare instance where I had actually gotten a fair amount of reps with that deck, and I was able to make most decisions in most situations right away. It definitely felt like playing old-style Ruby Amethyst, where the only main difference is you take turn 2 off, and all of your Be Prepareds are just Dragonfires that quest for 2 instead. The only major change I would have made after facing 5 Amber-based aggro decks is swapping in the 2 Bells for 2 more of those Ursulas. The Ursula into the Unknown combo was absolutely devastating every time I was able to play it, and it single-handedly won me games with massive tempo swings. Plus, both cards are still just genuinely good on their own. But the biggest thing is that Bell has kind of felt less and less good when players are wising up and making sure not to leave damage on characters. It's similar to the Rapunzel traps of previous metas. But all in all, I don't think I would have changed anything. I would have basically played the same deck. I don't think I would have wanted to take anything else. It felt really smooth and it felt really great when it worked. And, well, let's get to the main event. Round 1, I am paired with Amber Steel aggro, and I am already sweating. I actually managed to kind of sneak a peek at the colors ahead of time, too. When he pulled his deck box out, it was a slightly translucent box, and I was able to see the 1-drop Mulan out the side. And that tells me he's probably Amber Steel with a teeny tiny chance of Sapphire Steel, but I'm more likely going to be Amber Steel. So I know that if they have it, they have it. But if they stumble at any point, I can usually stabilize and make it work, especially if I can get early answers or apply pressure. In my opener here, I have no ramp, but I have a Rafiki. And being way more greedy than I probably should have been, I keep the Rafiki and send 6. I draw my cards. Card 1, nope. Card 2, nope. Card 3, nope. Card 4, nope. 5, nope. I look at 6. It's a Tipo. Let's go. We're actually going to have a game. I mean, I'm on the draw, so we're already going to be pretty rough, but at least there's a game that I ended up losing. I got ran over in about 6 turns, so all things considered, it wasn't as helpful as I would hoped. Now, game 2, I've got no 1-drop, but I hit my ramp and I was able to land an Iago that survived and a devastating Ursula that exerted a Tiana in order to sing Into the Unknown on herself, which allowed my Iago to take out a Daisy. Stabilized pretty well, took game 2, and we're off to game 3 on the draw. Now, I look at my hand and I snap keep 7. I have a Rafiki, a Tipo, 2 Into the Unknowns, a Mim Elephant, and then whatever I ended up inking. The Rafiki caused his non-Daisy early play to just hesitate just enough to buy me time to land that monstrous Mim Elephant, and then the giant purple mammal was a house. It gave a beating to his stuff turn after turn. His lore eventually stalls out hard at 17 after I clear the whole board, and then I'm able to quest my way back to a round 1 win. So I took round 1, I got smoked in the first game, able to stabilize game 2, stabilize game 3. We're off to a good start. Let's keep going. Let's keep going. Off to round 2, and my opponent is Sailor. Oh, no. Now, I am not intimidated by high-end pro players. I've seen plenty of it in Magic. They're just people like anyone else. But you have to assume a couple of things in these types of situations. 1, they are probably on a good and powerful deck or a meta call. 2, they are probably going to be very practiced with that deck and knowing all of its matchups. And 3, they are not going to make mistakes. So at that point, you just have to pray to RN Jesus that you have favorable variance in your matchup and you just put your best foot forward. So no, I wasn't afraid because it was Sailor. I was afraid because I knew he was on some kind of Emerald Amethyst dogs or something, and if he has even a halfway competent opener, I'm just cooked. So anyway, I got smoked 0-2 in about 11 minutes to one of the nicest, most polite players I've ever had the pleasure of losing to. But he was kind enough to pose for me for this representative picture of the match as I Hades his 3rd Tiana. All right, round 3, I am against a Snuggly Duckling team member and another very skilled opponent in a Blurple Mirror. Now, I don't actually remember too many of the details other than it was a long and grindy 3 games. It was one of 2 very close 3-game matches where 1 or 2 small choices just snowballed into a soul-crushing loss. I feel like I played about as good as I could have here, and it just wasn't enough to overcome his timely Elsa shift into Singing Second Star into Monstro wiping my board. A hard loss. I don't have too many other details that I remember, but it was frustrating to say the least. He ended up taking it. Round 4 was against Sapphire Steel, and I felt fairly confident. I had a decent opener, but once I felt kind of stabilized, he was able to Vincenzo after Vincenzo twice after his Robin Hoods kept my genies in check. And the fact that Vincenzo takes out a Mim Elephant that had challenged a 4/4 Robin Hood earlier was disheartening to say the least, but at least game 2 was a lot better. More patience. I had multiple genies that were able to sit there and quest because he didn't have those Robin Hoods. It was a relatively quick and decisive win, and we're off to game 3. This was another just kind of grindy slog until another Ursula Into the Unknown combo allowed me to clear a Vincenzo and then challenge into his otherwise clear board. Elephant moving damage was also very helpful. Don't have too many other details other than those, but good result for me for sure. All right, round 3 was bad. Round 4 got a win. We're still in the Mulan bracket, so I just need one more win for the Mulan. Technically still live. for the main event. So let's see where this goes. All right. Round 5 was the second long, grindy match that I probably shoulda, woulda, coulda won, and this time was Emerald Sapphire. Not too much to say on it, other than I had absolutely no ramp in the first game after sending 7, and the fourth Hades was not very great, especially with 6 ink on board, and the Elsa in hand for good measure. So we didn't take game 1. In game 2, I was decisively able to answer all of his threats and build a wide board that dodged under the sea. So quick, decisive, good win for me, and was able to bring that confidence into game 3. However, game 3 was another just tense back and forth, and I'm foggy about some of the details. I don't have any specific notes, but it's just another one of those things where a better player could have possibly pulled it off. Somewhere at some point, I made the wrong decision on something, and it just felt bad. Rounds 6 and 7 are uneventful aggro decks that smoked me in 15 minutes or less. The Amber Steel just go brrr both games and started with Daisy, Nala, Tiana and ended in 5 turns or less. But the dogs round in round 7, that was the one that just hurt me the most. It just demolished me in 4 or 5 turns game 1. The lore tracker sheet has him going from 2 to 7 to 14, and then I conceded. Game 2, he played a little more cautiously, building up boards without questing until getting a Chromacon on the board. Now, I thought this would be fine because all my stuff has really helpful enters effects and that I could just reuse those each turn. I just happen to also forget that you can bounce your own stuff with Chromacon. Now, normally it's not an issue, but at one point he used a shift lady to return 2 characters. Okay, whatever. And then he shifts a second lady on top to return 2 more. All right, we're already having some fun here. Then he just kind of innocuously quests with a single character, and like an idiot, I take the bait and slam in with something. I must have been an elephant because I wanted to move the damage around. Just to stem the bleeding. He went from 0 to 11 in 1 turn and then up to 13 here. But he puts his Chromacon trigger into the bag and then resolves it to bounce his own pile of ladies so that he could play them again to draw another 4 characters back from his discard. I'm able to tread water for a few more turns, clearing things out, bouncing stuff, but at that point, we're just kind of in garbage time. This is where things get really challenging. This is where I start to get kind of my imposter syndrome. It's at this point in the day that 5 of the 12 people in our group were 5 and 2 going into the final round, and 3 of us remaining hadn't won their Mulan yet. And 2 of them won it in round 7. So at that point, it was just me, only me, that had not even won a Mulan yet, stuck on 2 wins, round after round after round after round. It sucked. It was demoralizing. It was depressing. It made me question, what am I even doing here? I told myself if I lost again, I don't even want to stay. I just want to go back to the hotel and cry. It was hard to keep it together. And if you were someone that came up to me to try to say hi in that time, and I was maybe a little off-putting, I cannot stress enough how difficult that was for me to process. It's not even the card. It's not about the Mulan. It's the embarrassment, the thought that I don't belong, that I got my fellow players fighting for 10,000 tickets and day 2 aspirations, while I'm on the brink of going home with nothing. I think what hurt me the most was just being honest with myself. I got humbled by some bad matchups, but I also got humbled by some bad luck and bad decisions. Just choices that I made in games that ended up costing me, little things that were snowballed out of control. I can blame matchup and variance all I want, but the truth is, I really lost 2 close, grindy game 3 matches against good opponents, thanks to those 1 or 2 decisions. And it would be like I can commit to either line A or B, and I just chose the wrong one. I wonder if I wouldn't have made those mistakes if I were able to practice and train as much as the people in the rest of our group had done. Though I will say I did put in a decent amount of practice in the time that I had. And without that, I might not have even got a Mulan. I put in maybe a tenth of the practice that I should have, but probably 5 times more than I have with any other deck. As I mentioned, I felt comfortable and I felt confident with Blurple. And there were just the biggest problem was there were just situations that I was not prepared for, and I had to make decisions off the top of my head and just rely on hoping my instincts were good enough. And honestly, that works a lot of the time. It's just not going to work against the likes of folks that are going to X2 a DLC. Anyway, let's get to this roller coaster of a final match. I sit down and I see they have a Maleficent set champs mat, and they are playing Amber Steel, and I'm on the draw. Great. I spent 13 hours playing this dang thing, and I'm going to have nothing to show for it. Cool. I'm definitely a little fuzzy on most of the elements of the game, other than the beginning of game 1 and the end of game 2. So my opening hand, game 1, I have a Rafiki and ramp and an elephant. So if I'm not just straight up dead, I can maybe make something of this. Well, turn 1 gives me the biggest hope I can because she drops a 1-drop Rhino. Cool. It only quests for 1. It's fragile. Whatever. She might have the shift. I don't know. But I go to my turn. I play my Rafiki. Cool. Maybe that slows her down a turn. But then pass right back and she shifts the big Rhino on top. And I'm just thinking, oh no. But she pauses for a minute. And she says something along the lines of, well, I hope you don't have it. And I'm assuming she's referring to having the hypnotic strength, because Rafiki on his own won't get past the resist, but hypnotic strength will. And so she kind of hems and haws for a minute or so and decides to turn it sideways. And I'm thinking, all right, here it goes, whatever. And I draw my card, and it is exactly what I need. It is the hypnotic strength. And I just kind of get a little flustered. All right, let's go. I skip my ramp. I don't play it that turn. I ink something, play the hypnotic, take out the Rhino, and we go to the next turn with an empty board. All right, let's see where this goes. Maybe we can get there. So the next couple of turns, she kind of stumbles. Drop in a 1-drop Mulan, draw a discard. Second Mulan, draw a discard. All right. She's able to kind of limp around, but never really fires off, doesn't find a Tiana in time, and I am eventually able to stumble across the finish line and take an astounding game 1 on the draw. So I'm already like, okay. So you're saying there's a chance. Game 2, though. Game 2 is where I felt I really had to earn it, and I felt like I did. And I forget the exact series of events that got us there, but there was a point where she was at 17 lore with 5 characters on board. There were 2 ladies, a resisting troubadour, a Daisy, and a Lilo. One of the ladies and the troubadour are ready. The other 3 are exerted, and none of them have any damage. So I needed to remove everything, and it involved a lot of convoluted nonsense. So if I remember correctly, the sequence looked a little something like this. Tipo challenges into Daisy and puts 1 damage on. A Hades that already has 2 damage on goes into Daisy to finish it off and put a 3rd damage onto himself. A Bell Accomplished Mystic comes down and moves that 3 damage from the Hades onto Troubadour, bypassing the resist. I then play an Elsa from hand in order to exert the Ready Lady, and then I send Genie and Elsa into the 2 ladies, so 1 each. And then with the remaining 3 ink I have left, I hard cast into the unknown on Lilo, and the board is clear. Oh my goodness, I can't believe I might actually get there. And I pass the turn back, and she draws and plays a Nala. You gotta be kidding me. You gotta...
Not like this. Not like this.
But the variance gods have shined down upon me as I draw the perfect answer in Hades. I slam it down, send Nala into the inkwell. I quest to 13. I represent an additional 8 on the board, and she draws nothing. She extends a handshake, and I got my Mulan. Let's go. I am so many levels of relieved and validated, but still in the back of my mind thinking it shouldn't have taken me 13 hours to do this. But I take that feeling and I kind of stick it back for a little bit, because it wasn't just me winning that Mulan on that round. That's not even the best part. It's that all five of the day 2 win-ins make it.
Made it? Let's go! Made it! Go! Day 2! Let's go!
And I got my Mulan. Hooray. We are flying on Cloud 9. Every single one of us took home a Mulan, and almost half of us made day 2. That is cause for celebration. We walked to a nearby pizza place where the nicest guy made us some awesome drinks and pizza. We laughed and celebrated a day's job well done. But there's still another day to go. Now, before I chat about day 2, I kind of just want to broadly thank everyone that came up to me or recognized me or said hi or thanked me for my work. I love you and appreciate you, and I mostly made this channel kind of as like my own personal creative outlet, just to catalog and save and relive some of my games that I enjoyed playing and I enjoy making, and that stuff that I just wanted to see myself. I figured a few people might recognize me, especially since I don't put my face on camera very often, at least until I have a setup that actually worked. But I lost count after dozens. And it shows me Lorcana has such a great, wonderful, pleasant community. So many of you were just nice and kind and polite and happy. And I love that. So thank you. If you came up to me, thank you. If you watch and subscribe to my stuff, thank you. You really, really help make this be more than just a vanity project for things I personally enjoy. And I wanted to thank you. Anyway, back to day 2. There's really not much to share about day 2. I was jamming some Infinity to get the second Mulan to moderate success before moving to play some 8-man on-demands for tickets. I managed to get what I wanted, though, which was a hat and a pin. It was not the wildest of ambitions, but I'm still very happy to have them. And if I had more time, I would have loved to grind out some more to get the Elsa promo, but maybe next time. But I'm also very pleased to get both my Dumbos and my Docs signed by the wonderful Mariana Moreno. And I love the way these turned out. I'm so glad that I chose the gold for the Dumbo and silver for the Doc. They seem to just complement those cards so well. And I can't wait to play with them and show them off and just enjoy them. We end the day, we have one last breakfast. We take a quick trip to a Danish bakery that had some amazing stuff. And one more Culver's pit stop.
Culver's. Cheese curds. Good stuff, Cloud?
Yes.
Good stuff?
And then it was back to San Diego. As I mentioned in my preparation video, know why you are here. Even though I knew I probably wasn't going to win, I still thought, like, maybe I'd be able to eke out a couple of wins for a Mulan, and that would be fine. And it proved so much harder than I thought. And it really made me second guess, what am I even doing here? But winning a match I probably shouldn't have definitely helped remind me that I'm not awful at this game either. I wish I had the time to practice and prepare like the rest of our group, but that's just not a reality I live in right now with the work and home life that I have. Even as it stands now, I'm lucky to have 3 to 5 hours a week to make stuff, especially with a recent change in having to pick up and watch the littles a lot more often on the afternoons and evenings, since the grandparents aren't as available to help out as much now. I'm definitely not going anywhere, and I'm actually writing the next Rules You'll Get Wrong video as I'm finalizing this one. But if you've been wondering why content has been a little fewer and far between, that's why. Anyway, there were plenty of other things to talk about with regards to prizing and top cuts and all sorts of things that affected some of our groups, but didn't affect me personally. I have my opinion on those things, but honestly, I don't know if that's appropriate. I think I'm just not at the level of play in consistency or skill level where those things would matter to me. And so my opinion on that, it wouldn't carry as much weight as it probably should. So I'm going to let those that are more directly impacted by the types of things like the top heavy prizing and the top cuts and all of those drama choices, I'll let the people that are more directly impacted by that share those opinions. I'll start commenting on it when I'm there, but I'm not right now. And I will say the scars that I have from chasing that Mulan are pretty rough. This could have been a weekend to forget, but it ended up being one to remember. I'm so excited to have been able to be a part of this big stage, even if I'm just trying to stay afloat at the bottom tables. I have a long way to go to be on the same level as some of my fellow Illumineers, but I still have so much fun. Not winning sucks. And those who strive for perfection and success face a lot more stress and disappointment than I think a lot of other players may realize. And when I had to turn off the entertainment angle and actually no, I have to win, it's so much harder to deal with psychologically. There's so much pressure. And hats off to all of you awesome Illumineers who can keep it together across multiple days and pull off some absolutely amazing runs, especially our young top 8 contender Aiden. There's just so much awesomeness in this game, and with Whispers in the Well right around the corner, it is back to the drawing board for me. So stay questing, stay winning, and we will see you in the next one. If you enjoyed that, please don't forget to like and subscribe, and if you want more gameplay or breakdown videos, check out the playlist and recommendations here.